It's showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
And a fine Saturday morning to you.
Good morning.
Hi, Andy.
This is an exciting Saturday because Pete's here. Steve's here.
I had this dream that there were other people doing the sat mat without us. It was really weird. There were other people doing the sat mat. Yes,
Sounds
I
like
know.
a
It was
nightmare.
strange. I was like, there's... Yes,
Were
they
they breaking
were.
rules?
It was weird. I was wondering, is this a sat mat? I don't know. What's going on? It was very strange.
Let me tell you, after having listened to a month and a half of episodes that I was not on, this place is now has cultivated a culture of rule breaking, and apparently nobody is listening to the links that are posted before shows go up or watching trailers before they go up,
Or
it is
Rules. Where we're going, we don't need rules.
Oh, we're in trouble. How you guys doing?
The big question is, Pete, how are you? I think the audience needs to find out a little bit behind the scenes, a peek behind the curtain.
Oh,
Because, okay, yes, you and I have, our show's been going on. We're, I think, yesterday, just a couple days ago, our fourth episode after our brief hiatus went live. This is really, though, the first opportunity you've had to kind of actually have a conversation about your own life. How have you been, Pete?
I've been better. I've also been worse.
Very cryptic.
Oh, I have very much missed. I've very much missed the show. In fact, the last two episodes, you and I have recorded the Grand Illusion, and we also recorded, what was it? A Z.
Z
and
Zed. As
we
some
only
might say.
just recorded that this week, and those are the only two podcasts that I've done since the first week of July, because I was blessed with the COVID and went to some dark places.
The COVID fairy
came, and it was bad, and it was, but it wasn't. So it wasn't bad. I'm fine. You can see I'm fine. I didn't have to go to the hospital. It was not a pleasant experience. It is not the flu. It's different than that, and it hurts a lot more, and it's very strange. Some of the things that happen. And so, like, for example, I lost all feeling in my left leg just last weekend, and I don't know where that happens. That's an inflammation in the nervous system pushing on things, and suddenly my left leg is that of a crash test dummy. I have inexplicable shaking, quivering in my right arm occasionally. I go from feeling fine to feeling like I weigh 3,000 pounds and I have to lie down or I will fall down. Like those, it's the very strange things. I am over the worst of it. I had 8 very bad days, and other than that, it has been just recovery, and it's very long. But I have my voice back, and I didn't have my voice for a long time because I was coughing so much and I couldn't breathe. So I am very excited to be back with a microphone, and I am so grateful for everybody who has checked in from the community, for listeners of the show. Thank you so much for your concern, and I am so sorry that I have not been good about just writing words of thanks. It's been hard to stay on top of these things while I'm trying to figure out how to stay upright. So I'm more out of bed than in bed right now these days, and I'm trying to increase those hours every day. So. And thank you.
Well, for those who want to hear what somebody who's just getting over COVID sounds like when they do a podcast, check out the Grand Illusion episode. You could hear the passion Pete has for it, about talking about it, while at the same time complete and utter exhaustion at the idea of having to continue talking.
There were a lot of cuts in that show. That's an hour episode that was hard-earned 3 hours of recording or something. I mean, it was rough, but we did it, and so no, it feels good. The more important stuff though? I think I only watched like 2 movies the entire time. And one of them was your recommendation, which was Scoob. And man, was that a turd. So
recommendation, you say? I would very lightly say it was a recommendation. I think I gave it 3 stars.
That sounds like a recommendation to me.
I don't think it was screaming from the rooftops. Everybody go see Scoob. I had fun with it, but I grew up with the characters. I grew up with all the Hanna-Barbera, like the Laugh Olympics and all that sort of stuff. So seeing those characters all come together, I enjoyed. It's not a great movie, but I still had fun with it.
I should tell you that it was in this, we watched it and my family was quarantined away from me. So they were all down in the living room and I was in bed with my iPad and we were screaming at each other. Okay, you ready to press play? 1, 2, 3, play. Okay, now turn up the volume to make sure it's in the same. It's not at the same place. Okay, you're gonna press pause for. Wait a minute. 3, 4, 5 seconds. Okay, is it in the same place? I mean, that may have had something to do with it. We were trying to do a family movie night, and it was just not working. No,
Too funny.
Right.
Too funny. Well, before we go any further, I do have something to play for you. So,
Hey,
hold on.
Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute. I'm Kyle Olson from the Road to Infinity podcast.
Hey, and I'm Rob Cabasco and Kyle.
Yes, sir.
Hey, have you ever wondered what makes for a strong relationship? What makes us long for those we love?
Oh, every day, Rob. Every day.
I know, me too. But, driven by an urge to answer these questions, researchers at the University of Colorado set off by studying brain images of prairie voles. And the reason why is because they belong to the 5% of mammals, including humans, inclined toward monogamy.
Oh, that's true. And I believe that voles they have the lowest body temperature of any mammals.
You got me there. I didn't know that.
But that's not what we're talking about.
No, that's not what we're talking about. So, the researchers speculate the hormones such as oxytocin, vasopressin, dopamine, all involved in establishing trust and closeness.
All the good stuff.
Why do I bring that up? Because, Kyle, there's one of our own who we're thrilled to have back. We've missed, and we just wanted to welcome him back.
That's right, because we're here not to talk about any Marvel movies, but to welcome back our own Pete, who's been down with the COVID, but he has made a miraculous recovery, and he is making his triumphant return to the Satmat and to our hearts. And we just wanted to take a minute to say, welcome back, Pete. We missed you, and sorry about the mess. We'll clean it up.
Yeah.
I promise.
And also wash your hands.
Yeah,
Stay safe, damn it. That goes for all of us, by the way.
That's right. That's a blanket statement for everyone out there. We'll let you get on with the show, but we just wanted to say we love you, Pete. Stay healthy. We'll see you further on up the road.
Welcome back.
I love those guys. Come on.
A little interjection from our Marvel
They're
Movie
the
Minute, fellas.
best.
So there you go.
I was thinking as you were talking about it, because it's been to the first time I wrote anybody complaining about symptoms. The day it got so bad I had to acknowledge it was 44 days ago today. 44 days, you guys. That's stupid.
yeah.
That's
Yes,
a long
it is.
Yeah.
flu.
Anyway, Rob and Kyle, they're the best, and we could not be luckier than having them do that. They're very kind. Thank you guys so much.
They're just priming the pump for when your new mutant powers are revealed after getting the COVID. So, I mean, either that or this is the greatest marketing plan for the New Mutants that has ever existed, because
Let's get a virus in the world. That's brilliant. That's it.
Pete's one of the New Mutants. He's wanted to see that movie so much.
Just in
He
time for-
is one of them now.
I can actually, do you want to make smoke start coming out my nose? I can do it. I do this every 2 hours. I want you to die.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. All right. Well,
Yeah.
so Pete, you started throwing movies at us. You watched Scoob.
I did.
That was
I watched
apparently
Scoob.
your highlight
I watched,
of your whole
well,
COVID
I mean,
break.
I think Steve will appreciate my efforts to stay connected to pop culture more than you will probably, because I didn't watch a lot of movies, but I watched a ton of shows, and I finished up, or I watched Watchmen.
Oh,
which I had not seen, which was extraordinary. I did all 6 seasons of The Americans.
Oh, wow.
That's a treat. That is, you feel like you have the bends when you come up from there. But I loved that so much, and I did it just in time that I was able to watch all of Perry Mason on the new HBO Perry Mason, which was also, I mean, for a period that I loved so much. Like it's dark. It's really dark, but I had a great time with that show. I also watched The Boys on Amazon, which was, you talk about really messing with superheroes. They have cornered the market on making good guys really, really bad. And I thought that was an awesome thing to watch just coming into tonight's list. So, so I watched a lot of TV. Just finished Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was they've now ended that show, and I'm very disappointed because I think they they really figured out how to do Marvel on the small screen. So I got through a lot of episodes of shows. And so I finished the last season of something. My wife said, "Well, I guess you're not sick anymore."
Was that the cue?
No, So there was a lot of watching. I'll tell you, there's some. I didn't watch anything that felt just stupid except for one. I finished Truth Be Told on Apple TV Plus. And that is about the podcaster with what's his name, Breaking Bad, Aaron Paul, and Octavia Spencer, and she's a podcaster doing a true crime podcast. And it is a premise that I think is cool, and there were some things in there that were just forehead-slappingly dumb. And the final episodes were just such convoluted mess of disappointment that I don't know if I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't get picked up again. If it hasn't already, I'm not up on that news, but it was not a great experience. And after, I really enjoyed the morning show and For All Mankind, and I mean, this was just a real low point, so I was frustrated by that. But that's my media report from COVID land.
Gotcha. What about you, Steve? You've been a little busy in your real life, but have you had a chance to watch much?
Andy, I have issues. I have concerns. I have questions.
Do tell.
I have something to take up with you, sir. You're a big fan you're a big fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, aren't you?
I enjoy that.
Right.
Yes.
And you know what? Some of the trademarks of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is this expansive world. But some of the other things that the fans really got into were like the post-credit, little snippets, people would hang around at the end of a Marvel movie for the little teaser or whatever you would call it at the end, right? And we had huge cast with these long character story arcs, all of these things. You know where that started, Andy? You know where that started? That started with Pirates of the Caribbean, Andy. That all started with Pirates of the Caribbean, Andy, because Zoe Saldana is actually in the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie. We have huge world building with character arcs that go over multiple movies, and at the end of those movies, there are post-credit little teasers. You've got the monkey at the end of the first one. You've got the dog sitting on the throne with the bone at the second one. Disney was priming all of that right there. We would not have the Marvel Cinematic Universe as we know it today if it was not for the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. People sat down for Pirates of the Caribbean movies that were well over 2 hours long. Disney saw that and said, we can do this with Marvel. I take umbrage with your low ratings of these movies. Very upsetting to this household. Like, what is wrong with Andy?
Apparently.
2.5 stars. 2.5 stars. That first movie is a classic.
That was the high point.
It was.
The first one is a classic in our household. Shame on you, Andy Nelson.
Wow.
Shame on you.
Okay. All right. Well,
I was actually, I have to share in some of Steve's surprise, if not his really weird rage about this, because I actually was really surprised given the amount of crap that you actually have no trouble watching, and Pirates of the Caribbean you didn't get more joy out of.
Because, Scoob is great. That's 3 stars. Johnny Depp,
Steve,
2.5.
Hit it out of the park. That was a great callback.
I give you all the world building kudos for that franchise. They do, and I said that in my reviews.
You do.
Incredible world building, but man, are those things a slog. Just like the action sequences just feel like they're going on forever. I mean, if those films had cut half hour, 45 minutes out, they would probably be great. And, it's just, they're just so boring. It's just like, oh my God, now they're rolling around in the wheels through the jungle. How much longer? I gotta go to the bathroom for half hour.
Oh my gosh.
Come back and it's finally finishing up.
Oh my gosh.
It's
funny you mentioned that scene because my wife actually said, what's Andy's problem with that movie? Is it the rolling around in the cages? That scene is so much fun. Does he not like that? Well, now we know.
That's how every scene feels. They all feel like just such a slog of going through this again. Now they're in this ball. Now they're in a wheel. It's just like, gosh, just one thing after another.
Wow.
And it just, I don't know. I found it to be tedious, but I love the world. Like,
yes,
I found it to be really fascinating the way that they built this crazy, unrealistic, fantastical world with like fish people and everything. I mean, it's really cool. And in the third one, when they flip the boat to get from wherever they were to the real world, I was like, that's a really cool idea. Like they came up with a lot of really neat things, but just if they could just figure out a way to shorten those things, they'd be fine. I mean, I think Johnny Depp is actually really enjoyable as Jack Sparrow. And I think it was Will and Elizabeth that I tired with, because by the time I got to the fourth film, and we still haven't watched the fifth film, but by the time we got to the fourth film, I'm like, okay, this at least I feel like is as enjoyable as the first one, i.e. 2.5 stars. But I know a lot of people didn't like. My daughter didn't like the fourth one. That's her least favorite because she loves Will and Elizabeth. But what are you?
What?
13-year-olds.
That's bonkers to me.
Well, I think she just really connects with the Elizabeth character.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I guess I don't see it. I'm in it for the pirates. I'm not in it for her.
Well, she is a pirate.
She is a pirate. She's the pirate king. Come on, by the third one.
Pirate king.
Did she really earn it?
The Singapore tribe, whatever they are.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. All right. But other than that, it was funny was because I was on my Disney Plus and I saw that they had put the newest Pirates of the Caribbean on there, the Dead Men Tell No Tales. And I thought, we started watching that and I said, wait, I think we're missing one, the one before that. And I said, okay, well, wait, that's not a Disney Plus. And then my wife said, well, wait a second. I'm trying to remember where the trilogy ends. So we went back and watched At World's End. And we had just finished watching that one when you posted your 2.5 star review of the first one. And so the next day we said, how can he be so wrong? We need to watch this one again to just confirm, yes, he is completely wrong. This film is as fun as any action adventure movie that we can think of. So... But it was interesting. It was one of those like patient zero moments, of just, it seemed like it launched a whole lot of people watching that franchise. And what I don't understand is why the fourth one isn't on Disney Plus, because all the
I looked into that because I was frustrated that I actually had to pay to rent it for my kids because I'm like, why is this the one that's not here?
Yeah.
And this was when Disney Plus first started. They had a bunch of stuff on it, and then they had to retract a number of films. I can't remember how many. It was in the articles that I was looking at, but there were still deals in place with other places that had the rights to play it for X amount of time, and so they put it on there initially, and then they had to yank a bunch of stuff because of that. So now they're waiting for wherever it is to finish that contract. And then once that happens, then they'll be able to put it back on.
Because I know that was the issue with some of the Marvel stuff that was still on Netflix for a while before it finally all came over. Okay.
Right.
It's just a hotbed of turmoil around Pirates of the Caribbean. I did not see that happening tonight.
Right.
I know. Well, I was about to go off on Discord and I thought, no, I'm saving this for the show. I will save this for the show because I need to look him in the eye and have this conversation with him.
Ear to ear.
Ear to ear. Yes.
Well, thank you for that. We will forever differ on that point. I appreciate you making it all the same.
We always will. And yes, and I will never watch Scoob because I just have no desire to watch more Scooby-Doo.
It's got Blue Falcon and Dynamite. What more do you need? Captain Caveman.
I know. No, I agree, but that's one of those things where I think I love having that in my childhood because if I revisit it, I fear that it will not live up to the nostalgia and it will be something where I will say, okay, why?
Yeah.
Oh, I did watch
Probably.
another movie, and it was my host pick of the week over on Instagram that I have to give a shout out to
Oh,
Palm Beach
yes.
or Palm Springs.
Yes.
If you haven't watched it yet, go watch that movie. It's fantastic. I absolutely adored that film.
And while you're at it, go follow us on Instagram.
Yes.
Oh, do that too.
Yes. There we go. We're getting in the swing of things. We got to plug those promo things, right? Instagram.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we're going crazy over on Instagram.
There's lots of good
One
stuff.
of us is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been a little busy. 3 posts a day up on Instagram trying to get more action over there. It's fun, though.
It
a lot
is
of,
fun.
lot
It
of
is
movie posts.
Yes.
So check it out. Follow us there. Well, I feel like we need to jump into news, and I feel like the first thing, since you have been talking about TV, Pete, and everything, I jumping back to our joy of '80s cartoons. Did you guys watch the the fun intro made Jason and Friends? The lead-in imaginary opening of the Saturday morning '80s cartoon with that was a Friday the 13th spinoff.
Yes.
Wow.
That?
It was, I
Wow.
mean, I love that because I had forgotten that, like, there were so many things in the 80s and 90s that were given their own animated series. Like, that there was.
RoboCop, for Pete's sake.
Yeah.
Like, that
Yes.
should not have been an
What?
animated series
Right,
for
yes.
kids.
Exactly. I mean, I remember Beetlejuice. I think, wasn't there like a Mike Tyson cartoon or
Yep.
something? Yes.
Yep.
All these things
Yep.
that just, back in the day when.
MC Hammer had his
Oh
own.
my gosh. Yes.
Dumb and Dumber, Police Academy,
No.
an R-rated show.
Police
Great movie,
Academy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Well,
I never
The
saw that.
Further
This-
Adventures of the Police. Yes.
This one was perfect. The Friday the 13th cartoon intro when he goes after the two guys with their heads over and over and over and over again. It's the perfect homage to Scooby Doo, to all of the cartoons that we used to watch, and it's kind of how I felt watching Scoob.
Well, he even has the dog sidekick
Yes.
with
Yeah,
his own
he does,
with his own
with his own
hockey
mask.
Yep. This is over on the Frank's Kid Instagram page. Mike Chichi, I think, does a lot of little 80s art, kind of obscure things done in that kind of retro style. And this was one of them. It is a delight. Definitely check that out on his Instagram page. Steve, you posted something over in our Discord group the other day that I feel like now we need to talk about because it apparently created quite a fervor, not just because of the fans of physical media, but then because it came out that it may actually be just a vicious rumor.
Yeah, it's one of these gray areas where the initial reporting was from some inside sources, and how valid are those? And then the counter reports from a Disney spokesperson who is not named. It's all up in the air, but it's the idea that, and it started with this alleged, reporting that Disney was not going to be doing any physical, 4K media for particularly a lot of the back catalog stuff from the acquisition. I think that's the thing that's more upsetting to people. And for me, this was sort of on the tails of the whole Mulan, only coming out on Disney Plus for $29.99, all of that. They're putting everything into Disney Plus. And so this sort of seemed the next logical step of, we're going to have stuff on Disney Plus. We're not going to release physical media. And I know that's all the Fox properties and back catalog, and people are craving their 4K versions of that on physical media. Whether or not that will happen, who's to say? But I made the case that, it's physical media is dying out. It's a trend that's downward. And to me, it makes sense why they would, do that. It was funny because I just had a conversation with somebody the other day about 4K, and they said, well, should I get a 4K TV? And I said, well, how big is your screen going to be, and how close are you going to sit to it? Because if you already have an HD TV, unless you're getting something like 80 inches and you're sitting like 6 feet or closer to it, you're not likely going to notice that much of a difference on the screen. So that's the other thing I sort of have issue with the 4K is okay, you bought Star Wars on VHS, then you got it on DVD, and then you got the special edition on Blu-ray, and now you're going to pay for it on 4K. And is it really noticeable of a difference to have it in that format? It's one of these things that why the desire to get the newest version of it when really it's just you're paying for the same thing you already have. And if you have a good Blu-ray player and a good HD TV, I think you're going to be fine. You don't need the 4K version.
And you're going to be just fine, Steve, the day you turn 70. Happy birthday, old man.
What are you talking? I'm not the one holding on to the old ways of media. I'm like, give me my digital versions. Give me my digital versions.
But you want to watch it on a tiny HD TV.
No.
Oh my gosh! 1920 by 1080 is just too small, Steve.
No, what are you talking about? My screen's not that small.
4K. No,
yeah.
I'll tell you, I did end up, in all seriousness, my HD TV finally popped, and I had to upgrade my TV. And TVs are crazy. They're just, the whole economics of a television set is beyond me. I don't understand why I can get the size of equipment that I can, but I can. And so, I ended up with a 4K, and it's really lovely.
Oh, sure.
It's lovely. I like to stand actually about 10 inches away from it and turn on some of the Apple screensavers and feel like I'm scuba diving or playing with the whales, because it's magical. But I am with you. I think the challenge with this whole, the headline is totally believable. Like, it is going to happen. And I'm sorry for you Blu-ray people. I'm sorry, but it's gonna happen. And it was too soon. It's definitely too soon. That's all. It's not a question of if.
It's not
it
too
is
soon.
A question of when.
Well, it's not too soon. I mean, DVDs have. I remember getting one of my first DVDs. I got The Matrix on DVD, and so that was probably 20 years ago. And so then Blu-ray came along. How long after that? I mean, it's a format that's been around for over a decade, right? Yeah. So, we're going to switch from Blu-ray. We're going to go to 4K. And then another 7 years, you're going to have to go to something else. I mean, I find it surprising. The one, CDs have been around since the 80s, and we don't have format shifts in music, really. You've gone to streaming, but that's it. We had cassette, you had vinyl, you had 8-track, you had cassette, CD, and then there's nothing more. But for video format, we keep always having to make minor improvements that cause an entire shift in product and devices for it.
Well, what do you think, though, about the argument that what CDs moving to streaming didn't have is an outsized impact on disenfranchisement in media access, in entertainment access? There are still way too many people who don't have access to the kind of technology that they need to turn on streaming in their homes. And again, I can go to Spotify or Apple and get 98% of what I listen to and stream it right now with one of those services. But I can't do that in streaming media right now. It's mayhem. It's crazy, right? And so I just think there are still so many unsolved challenges that just sticking with your physical media solves. And I'm a cheerleader for streaming media. I prefer it.
It really boils down to like picture quality, because music, it's so much easier to stream music, even like really high quality music, than it is to stream a picture. And that's really what it boils down to. Because once your internet is having issues, all of a sudden you've got really bad picture. Like the satellite, back in the satellite days, the satellite would be behind clouds. There's a thunderstorm, and now you're just getting like a bunch of pixels moving around on your screen.
Oh, and let me tell you, what looks great is 4K striping in your blacks.
Right,
that's
exactly.
Amazing.
Exactly. So I think that's what it boils down to, and some people really like having that great picture quality. Sure. Now, I'm kind of the omnivore of the group here. I definitely have plenty of physical media, but I've made mostly a switch to streaming and digital media. The only time I'm really enjoying my physical media is for limited releases, and that's my fear is, I mean, there's such a huge quantity of entertainment that is just not getting released. And if it weren't for these specialty houses like Twilight Time, like Kino Lorber, places like that, you're not going to be getting some of those more limited releases. And those are what I really still enjoy getting on physical media. And same thing with CD. I still am, there's a few CD places that I still follow just to get specific releases because they're not getting released in any other way. And so that's my dilemma. But I'm not as concerned if I have just the Blu-ray versus the 4K. I know that's a big issue for some people, and I certainly have friends on both sides of the argument. But I guess, I see it like you guys do, the inevitable point when this will be something where all that eventually will stop. But I do think that there's an awful lot of people out there still who just don't have the internet at a place where they can really do all of that. And it's so much easier for a lot of people to just go over to Goodwill and pick up a DVD for $2 and just, have it there, or go to the Redbox or whatever it is.
I think we will post in the show notes. We'll post the original link. We'll post the follow-up link that says the original link was bogus. You can read them and see what all the insiders are or not saying. But also, you should back up all your stuff.
I can tell you that because Father's Day I tried to watch my Interstellar on my Blu-ray, and there's some flaw or scratch in my disc, and so I get to one point and nope, no good. Let me switch over to streaming.
Not going to work.
Yeah.
And that's definitely one that's easy to find streaming. So you don't have to worry about that.
And I'm glad you've come around on that one, Andrew. I'm glad you've come around.
I've come around a while ago. It's just,
I know.
You're always complaining about it. And I just want to stick up for the physical media guys.
Because there's complaining about it.
I think there's a huge reason why physical media should continue existing, because we're just not getting those specialty releases.
No, that is very much true.
And that's incredibly frustrating.
No, this is so meta, because I think Steve was actually referring to your opinion on Interstellar.
But it's true.
But it totally applies to your opinion on physical media, too.
That's where I was. But
amazing.
I will concede that point, Andy, because that was, for a long time, it was very hard to track down a DVD copy of Drop Dead Gorgeous, which is an amazing film. And then it showed up on Hulu briefly for a couple of months, but it is again gone. And unless you happen to have the DVD of that, you're going to find yourself, you're not going to be able to find it streaming anywhere. And that is the challenge. I agree for some of the smaller films until there's more streaming options or consolidation or something that happens to make some of those smaller titles more available to the general audiences.
Yeah. Well, and to resolve confusion. I think this is a real challenge when it comes to director's cuts, alternative cuts. Just try to figure out which is the canonical version of name it.
Blade
Aliens, Runner. Blade Runner. If I could just find that sweet Blade Runner, the lost cut in Apple iTunes, that would be really swell. But you can't, and it's not in their best interest to give you a variety of choices, because it's a customer service nightmare for people who don't know. Well, that's the problem with these movie houses, and I think to the same extent the problem with Spotify and Apple Music having the massive corner of the streaming market is for people who really do care about versions. They suck in these services.
Oh yeah, that was one of the things with you look at the Beatles, because you have the American versions of the albums and then the original British versions, and that's usually what you find. And there's many times where I go to look for an album and I'm like, this isn't the right version of it. It's a re-release, and there's tracks that have changed. I'm like, no, I want the version that I bought back then. So yes, that is one of the issues of multiple versions, particularly with what is the one that is the, for lack of a better term, approved or official version of something.
Right. And giving us choices.
And it also, we're speaking specifically in kind of problems that we're dealing with in the world of cinema in the United States.
Yes.
We're not even touching on how complex it is once you start dealing with film rights across borders, because I mean, we have plenty of people who tune into the show and are in our Discord groups who are in other countries who don't have access to these things that we're talking about that are streaming, because of the fact that it costs, I mean, like Criterion Channel is a perfect example. It costs a lot of extra money to license those films in other countries. And it's a very much a kind of a legalistic nightmare to kind of handle all of that. And obviously it's doable. Physical media gets sorted out. I think it's just something else that the streaming media is going to have to get to at some point, because there are plenty of people champing at the bit overseas. But there's another reason why physical media is a benefit.
Well, this was a problem that should have been solved when someone, and I hope that person isn't sleeping well at night, someone during the DVD specification committee meetings, when they decided that having regions on DVD players was an okay thing to saddle the planet with, that person, I hope, is living with nightmares of being buried in DVDs every night hence. That cemented a culture of country favoritism in rights management that is just bizarre to me. So it's the legacy.
And then that's even more frustrating, because then there are people who are like, oh, well, if you're going to get that movie, make sure you get the Region 2 version of that, because it's a much better restoration of the film, and it's got a lot better, different additional bonus features and stuff. And it's just like, all of a sudden it's like, and I have friends who are like really into that. And it's like, that's too much for me. I'm not ordering a special Region 0 Blu-ray player from Spain just so I can watch X movie. But people do because of those sorts of things. And I love all that stuff, but it's, there certainly does come a point where you got to say no.
Well, if you want to learn more, read any movie's Amazon review thread, and let's move on.
Oh, do you guys remember? So two things that Steven Spielberg did back in the late 90s, early aughts that I think are interesting. Steve, you posted an article about the game that was a very interesting video game to play, where it was called Director's Chair, Steven Spielberg's Director's Chair, where you got to actually kind of make a movie with him. What did you find about that?
So apparently, with nostalgia and with things on physical media, there's the ability to rip those things from that format and put that online. So apparently someone has taken the CD-ROM game of Steven Spielberg's Director's Chair, pulled the video stuff off, and uploaded it, I think, to YouTube. So it's sort of like a choose your own adventure type interface. So it's not exactly the same, but if you remember mid-90s CD-ROMs, it was pretty much, you'd watch a video clip, you had to select one or two choices. I mean, it wasn't much more advanced than the Dragon's Lair video game, right? You have key points and then you make your choice, and that would load up another video segment for you to watch. But this is one I remember hearing about, but I don't think I ever played it, because I think I would have remembered this, a movie that you were making starring Jennifer Aniston, Quentin Tarantino, and Penn and Teller.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I had it.
You had it. Okay.
It was, yes. And it wasn't really that great of a game. It was clunky because it was like a Dragon's Lair sort of thing, where you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then the makeup artist would come on screen. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. It's going to take an extra hour to get the makeup done. We're going to be running behind. And then you have to, it's just like, oh, geez. Yeah.
So
I've never even heard of this.
Oh, see,
how is this news to me?
I don't know where you were in the mid 90s. See, I was hooked on another game that came out in the late 90s that was somebody just made and threw out on the internet that was called Sim Cinema. And it was bare bones type of interface, just text, and you would pick the name of your movie, you would select the genre, and it was just like checklist boxes. You could pick your stars, and then you would go through your production cycle, and it would randomize little events where it was like, oh, there's a delay on this. And then you would release the film, and it would track over the weeks of like how it did box office. So it simulated the whole production process. And the thing was, you could come up with great names. You could put whatever actors and directors. It was just text fields to put in there. But I always wanted something more than that, because I knew it was random in text. So then, when I heard about the Steven Spielberg CD thing come out, I was excited about it. But I think probably initial reviews were not that great for it. So I don't know where you were, Pete.
It does not look like it.
Yeah. Well,
It was rough.
so
It was a
Andy,
rough
you said there
game.
were two things with Steven Spielberg in the 90s. What was the
Well,
other?
you posted this, and it just made me think of that TV show that he did in the aughts on the lot,
Oh, yes.
which was
that's
kind of
right.
a reality TV show trying to find the next Steven Spielberg, basically.
Right.
And it was a TV show that really kind of, unfortunately, totally bombed, but I
Yes.
loved it. I followed it all the way through. And just before the show, before we started recording, I was kind of just clicking around to see what happened to any of those names. Did any of them make it? And it's funny, very much like, America's Got Talent or any of those, The Voice, whatever it is. It's not necessarily the winner who ended up making it, but it's like the person close, like one of the last eliminated people who's actually done something. Will Bigham won. He didn't really get anywhere with his career, but Adam Stein came in third, and he's gone on to do some writing and directing. He's recent and editing and stuff. I think he's recently done a feature just a couple years ago called Freaks, which I didn't hear about, but he did that. He's directed some stuff for Kim Possible, did some Jimmy Kimmel Live stuff. So it's like, oh, there you go. Some people did come out of this, even though the show was a total flop. So
Yeah,
there you go. Two odd media things for Steven Spielberg to be involved in.
I remember that show, and I remember thinking, oh, this will be exciting. Like any of these singing competition shows where you think, oh, okay, they'll put their movie up, the audience will vote. But the difference between learning to sing a song and sing it is very simple. The whole project of compiling a movie and putting it together, as we learned from like Project Greenlight, is it's not simple. It's not that entertaining to watch people struggle. And
Right.
That's the real trick.
Yes.
It's boring as hell.
yes, it is. So I do remember that. I had completely forgotten about On the Lot. Yes.
Yeah,
Ooh.
he didn't learn from the Project Greenlight people that audiences just really struggle caring about people in the behind the scenes of making movies.
Yes.
Right. That's why the behind the scenes are always like 20 minutes after the movie's
Yes.
made. Right.
Right. Most people skip it. Yeah, exactly.
Can we just talk briefly about this AMC thing?
We
Before
should, because I know, Pete, next week, as soon as AMC opens their doors, you're going. 15 cents for movie tickets to see Empire Strikes Back. I know you are going to be there. Screw the mask. You've already had it. You don't need that.
I'll tell you, not worth it. 15 cents, not worth it. And it just makes, I was wondering what you guys think, because I'll tell you, I have some, and I know I'm of the three of us, I might be sitting in a place of unique anxiety around, backsliding is what my doctors are very afraid of right now. And viral load is a thing that we're talking about. It's going to take, a significant amount of time to get me to go back to a theater. I'm going to miss a lot of first run movies over the next number of years. I'm just not going to a theater. I don't know what it's going to take, but I'm not ready. And I know that's my anxiety talking, but I'm curious where you guys stand.
I don't know. Like I keep saying, Tenet, IMAX, September.
Yeah.
I'm so tempted. I heard somebody who, because, there's sporadic little movie theaters that have been opening around the world and stuff like that. I heard somebody online who went to see a movie and they said, it was great. I was one of like 5 people in there and we had so much social distance. It was perfect. I'm like, well, okay, maybe I will go, because if that's how it is, sure. But if it's like a packed house, it's just like, gosh, I don't know if I'm that interested in going anytime soon, which is really frustrating.
The last time I was in the theater, I was sitting one seat away from that gentleman and we were watching The Hunt.
Oh, yeah.
That was the last time I was in a movie theater.
I snuck in the day after that to see Invisible Man, so I did get one more after you. But that was like the late show, and it was a pretty empty theater.
Yeah, I'm not. No, I'm bummed because I got my birthday coming up in November, and based on the way things are going here in Arizona, I don't anticipate we're going to be in a position where I'm going to want to be in a confined space with people for several hours, because it's not just one. Usually, Pete, you do the birthday binge. I'm going to go try to cram in 2, right? No.
Yeah.
Heck no.
Yeah, right.
And
trust me, I know. I just did that.
I feel for theater owners.
Yeah.
I feel for, but I think there's a price, and 15 cents ain't it. Like I don't know if it's worth it to see Black Panther or The Empire Strikes Back.
Being out for a month and a half, no, not worth 15 cents.
Not worth it. It's frustrating, but AMC, I appreciate where they are. They're going to be opening 2/3 of their locations across the United States, I guess is what we're talking about. To get ready
obviously
for
they have a
Tenet.
lot of new regulations in place.
Yes.
They're limiting how many people, like the number of space between seats and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they are working on all of that, but it's still, even with all of that,
Unless they have special seating for Bubble Boy Zone where I could just go in and,
roll
roll myself in the back corner and watch, maybe.
Exactly.
That's right. It's just going to drop oxygen bubbles like right down in front of everybody. It's going to be great. It's going to be we're fine. The U.S. is doing great.
We're all fine here. How are you? Let's do trailers. All right, Steve, you got yours in first in our notes, so take it away.
Yeah, but we don't have any A24 and we don't have any Red Band. So I was because there's not a lot to choose from. And it's still, I mean, it's getting better out there. But again, I think what I'm seeing is there's this shift to a lot of original content showing up on streaming services. So my first pick is one that's coming to Netflix on September 4th, 2020. And this is it's one of these things where I watched it and said, I don't know what this is, but look at this cast. I want to see this. Jesse Plemons, Toni Collette, David Thewlis, directed by Charlie Kaufman, screenplay by Charlie Kaufman. This is going to mess with your mind. It is called I'm Thinking of Ending Things, based on the novel by Ian Reid, which I have not read, but it is a bizarre movie about a young woman going on a road trip with her new boyfriend to visit his family, and then just the strangest things happen, as you would expect from Charlie Kaufman. I have no idea what's happening in this trailer. I don't know what's real, what's imagined, any of that. I love this type of movie. I'm all set for September 4th of sitting down with a big bowl of popcorn and letting Charlie Kaufman mess with my head.
Jake, my boyfriend.
It's snowing.
Winter is coming in.
We have a real connection, a rare and intense attachment. I've never experienced anything like it. I'm thinking of ending things.
Huh?
What?
Did you say something?
I don't think so.
Weird.
Well, certainly the dog shaking for as long as it does. That's all real. That's all real. I will say, Charlie Kaufman, we did a series of his films early on in our show, and I really enjoy him. And then I watched Synecdoche, New York, and I just don't, that one hurt my head. I can't do it too much.
That wasn't the one to watch, Andy.
I struggled with that one so much. I didn't like it at all. And so I skipped Anomalisa, and I'm so glad that you guys covered it on Trailer Rewind because you finally got me to watch it. And I'm like, oh, this was great. I love this. That's what I love out of Charlie Kaufman. And so I don't know, this looks bonkers. And it's that Charlie Kaufman world that I'm very excited about. So I'm totally on the board for this one.
Yeah, so the trailer I think dropped last week, and I listened to the show and I was stunned that nobody picked this trailer because it absolutely would have been my pick too. I just feel like it is the Charlie Kaufman that I really loved out of our series. It is the Charlie Kaufman that I think gives me nightmares, and I love it. The dog was right. The dog is it's all the things right now.
Up with that dog?
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was just the right kind of. It's just the right kind of weird, and so I'm very excited to sit down with a big bowl of popcorn, and hope that it doesn't conflict with my trailer.
Oh,
Why? When does this one open, Steve?
This is September 4th.
Oh, good.
September 4th.
So you can actually see mine first.
Okay.
I would have picked that one this week, and then I saw, hardest working man in Hollywood, Ethan Hawke, has a new movie coming out, and I thought, weird. It's called Tesla. Now, has Nikola Tesla gotten more play in the last 5 years than any other historical figure? What is going on with the fascination of the battle between Edison and Nikola Tesla? It is fascinating to me. But here we go. Another one. We have Nikola Tesla is being played by Ethan Hawke. We have Thomas Edison being played by Kyle MacLachlan. And it is a period piece that also has Google in it. It's crazy. Now, I was really moved by this trailer because of what feels like great cast in an incredibly intentionally low rent production of something that it feels like that stylistic choice could work really well for my specific sensibilities. It does not work for everybody. The thing is already trucking at below 6 stars on the IMDb 6-star scale. And so I don't know how it's going to play broadly. It feels very much like this is a joke that not a lot of people are going to get.
Is nature a gigantic cat? And if so, who strokes its back?
May I introduce the brilliant Nikola Tesla, the greatest inventor of the age.
If you Google Nikola Tesla, you get 34 million results. It's basically just 4 pictures. Beyond that, things get murky and more imaginative.
Thomas Alva Edison. Got a light? Oh, Tesla. Didn't see you there before.
I now have the pleasure of introducing you to a novel system of energy, alternate currents. This will transform the way the world works.
No sparks.
It's perfect. Where have you been hiding?
Alternating current is a waste of time. Impractical and deadly.
I love trailer films like this that are biopics that mess around with that, because it reminded me of I, Tonya. It reminded me of 24-Hour Party People, because I don't know if you've seen that one, because there's a scene where there's an event going on, and the actual person that was involved in the event is there as the camera pans past, and it stops him, and he says, "I don't remember this happening at all," and then moves on. Yeah. So it's playing with that, the fact of Google, all that, of looking at it from this perspective, going back and through a lens of what we know in the 21st century now. Looks like you've got to do something different, because I think audiences want more than just, I'm gonna tell the story, because again, which version of the story are you going to tell? And since we're going to get into questions of that, whose version is actually right, let's just play around with it. Let's have fun. Let's cast Jim Gaffigan in this thing.
Everybody needs to put Jim Gaffigan in their movies.
Good. Jim Gaffigan, and man, he's having trouble. COVID coping trouble.
Yeah.
Really?
He does a CBS Sunday morning bit every morning, and we just love it, because it's like, how far down the insane train has Jim Gaffigan gone today? Oh, he's gardening today. Yes. Excellent. Yeah, it's great. What'd you think of the trailer, though?
I agree. I mean, the IMDb 6-star rule makes me a little nervous, but the fact that they're doing something really creative with this story and the way that it's being told, I'm like, okay, because at first it started, I'm like, okay, we just saw the current war. Eventually it came out, and I was like, okay, that one told this story. Do we need it again? And then it's like that computer scene popped up where it's like, if you search him, I was like, okay, hold on, there's doing something here. And the text that comes up on the screen, I'm like, they're clearly playing around with the biopic form. And so that makes me curious. I think I'm curious about this one. If it were coming to theaters, I'd probably skip it and just rent it. So I think I will just check it out when it does come out digitally, and check it out then. But when is that happening again? Soon, apparently.
But hold on, I'll tell you in a minute, because I have a different tab open. Did you guys ever check out that great film Marjorie Prime?
Yes.
Do you remember Marjorie Prime?
I do remember us talking about the trailer.
Oh, we talked about the trailer. Did you guys do that on Trailer Rewind?
No, we didn't do it on Trailer Rewind. I did track it down and watch it, and it's interesting. Why do you bring up Marjorie Prime?
It is an interesting film. Also, The Experimenter.
Yes,
that was on the show.
That was also on the show.
That was Trailer Rewind. That's right.
Yep. Well, director Michael Almereyda.
Oh, okay.
Is behind this one as well.
Because
I mean, if it gives you any perspective, that checks out.
No, because Experimenter did have some of these weird moments where
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
There were these
Yep.
scenes, and it's like they're on a weird backdrop and a different approach to that. Okay, yeah.
Cymbeline, the man who only came out at night. So that's what we get from for Tesla. When does it come out, Andy? What a great question. It's like you've done this before. 21st of August. 2020. Okay. It's coming next week somewhere,
right.
somehow, to quote internet. So we shall see.
We will check it out then. Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to that. For my trailer, I jumped on this one because one, I love the title. It's got a great title. And two, I have become one of the people who just am mesmerized when I see Daniel Kaluuya on screen. I rewatched Get Out somewhat recently and was just blown away really by the performance he gives. I think he's an incredible actor. With Lakeith Stanfield, seeing the pair of them, along with another call to Jesse Plemons, who you just talked about, Steve, in Judas and the Black Messiah. This is a film about the Black Panther Party in the 60s, specifically in, I believe it's in the Chicago area, where we have Daniel Kaluuya playing Fred Hampton, who is the leader of the party there, and Lakeith Stanfield, who is in the party, but is actually the Judas in this particular case. He's working with the feds. He's an informant, and Jesse Plemons plays the person he's talking to. And it's kind of the way that this story unfolds about how he gets kind of into the fold of the Black Panther Party in the 60s and leads to a pretty dark finish. But I'm really curious about this, and just the way that Kaluuya had the power in that trailer, just as he was chanting and getting the audience riled up, and I was just like, oh, there's some real energy going on here. I got incredibly excited to see what they were doing here. What did you guys think of this trailer?
Deputy Chairman Fred Hampton of the Illinois Black Panther Party. Repeat after me. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary.
You're looking at 18 months for the stolen car, 5 years for impersonating a federal officer, or you can go home.
The Black Panthers are forming a rainbow coalition of oppressed brothers and sisters of every color.
Their aim is to sow hatred and inspire terror.
I will learn all that I can.
These ain't no terrorists.
Well, anytime I see Lakeith Stanfield, I go a little bit bonkers because of Sorry to Bother You, which I thought was so much fun. So I really like Lakeith Stanfield, but I'm 100% with you on Daniel Kaluuya. I find that guy just magnetic on screen. To see them together in this movie, to see how Kaluuya has affected his voice to become this leader at rallies and the way he inspires people, I found it incredibly moving. I think of all of the trailers, this is the one I'm probably now most excited about. It just looked great. Strength.
It's the perfect movie at the perfect time. I mean, it's an important story to be telling at this point in America, because I don't know this story at all. He was so this is the story of Fred Hampton, who, according to Wikipedia, he died December 4th, 1969, so before I was born. And again, this is that part of history that it wasn't touched on in elementary school. It's one of these things
or
that
even high school.
or high school just was not. And so I love going back and visiting these stories and learning about what was going on. This was something was in my neighborhood. I wasn't in downtown Chicago, but my dad went to art school downtown. And so this is something that never got talked about. So I'm really, really excited to see this story, to learn a little bit about history in a, city that I was, near and, visited a lot growing up. This is very exciting. The trailer it got me hooked on this one because there's just so much, I don't know, tension and energy because they just set it up so well of like, I'm going to be, to quote Pete Wright, I'm going to pay for my seat, but only use the edge of it. Right.
Yeah. Fred Hampton also, he founded the Rainbow Coalition, which I thought was pretty interesting, bringing people together. And we didn't mention, of course, but Lakeith Stanfield was also in Get Out.
That's right. That's right.
So, yeah. But Judas and the Black Messiah, right now it has a release date of 2021. And that's pretty much all they've given at this point. It's still in post-production. So we'll keep our eyes out.
All right. Have you seen anything? Did you guys see the Newlyweds? I think that was the only other feature that Shaka King is directed.
I didn't see it, but no, and that was a few years ago that he did that one. But I heard it was really funny. I heard it was a funny one. So
right.
I'm definitely curious about it. But yeah, Shaka King behind this one as well.
Now, what possible game could we play tonight, the three of us? I mean, we could fix the movie, or we could recast something.
Oh, I know what we're playing.
Oh, it's Andy's show. It's Andy's show. Okay. What does he got?
Yeah.
Tonight's the night. We're going to re-rank 2001.
All right.
It's not even going to come close.
Yeah, it is. Re-ranking.
No.
All right.
No, but we're going to jump back into Flickchart. We have not done any re-ranking in forever because the three of us have not been, even two of us really haven't been on the show in a capacity where we could actually do any ranking. So we're going to jump in and do some re-ranking, just a quick round of it. Do you want to do 10 or should we do 5? I know we're running long.
Until we get to 2001. We're going to go until we get to 2001 or Under the Cherry Moon, whichever comes first.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, all right. We're going to kick it off then with Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, which is, I think, number 4 on our chart presently, versus No Country for Old Men.
That's Mr. Smith.
That's a tough one, but yeah, I think I have to go Mr. Smith.
Yeah, because they're both good, but which one do you feel good about yourself after watching at the end?
Just let me put this bolt shooter right between your eyes.
All right, next up we have Spirited Away. Oh, Mr. Smith's held steady.
Okay.
Next up, Spirited Away by Hayao Miyazaki or Raise the Red Lantern by Zhang Yimou. Oh, wow. Steve, I don't think you've seen Raise the Red Lantern.
That is correct. I have also.
Have you seen Spirited Away?
I have not seen Spirited Away, so I'm 0 for 0 on this one.
Oh, wow.
So it's just you and me, Pete. I think I'm saying Raise the Red Lantern.
Yeah, I think I am too.
That gave it a bump from 120 to 73.
Oh, wow.
More Hayao Miyazaki. We have Princess Mononoke versus the 2010 Ridley Scott Robin Hood. I gotta go Princess Mononoke.
Princess Mononoke, please.
Steve, you have seen neither of these.
I've seen the Robin Hood a long time ago. I have not. I'm lacking in my Miyazaki.
You saw Ridley Scott's
Robin Hood mess. Yes,
you did. Okay.
Yeah, I rented that because I was like, Russell Crowe, Robin Hood. This will be good, right?
He was hoping the director's cut would be as strong as
Kingdom of Heaven. Yes,
Kingdom of Heaven, right?
Well, that Princess Mononoke jumped 301 to 250. Surprised that Robin Hood was so high. Next up, Wizard of Oz or Intacto. Oh,
Intacto.
What a great film. Wizard of Oz.
Down.
Oh.
What?
Oh.
Wizard of Oz is a classic.
It's fine.
Ooh, no.
Steve, you've seen both of these?
Oh, yeah. I've seen both of them in the theater, actually. I got to see Wizard of Oz when it was like
one of the re-releases.
70, 75 or something like that, but saw it in Intacto. And I will say this is the issue is because I walked into Intacto and I think I don't know how I ended up seeing it. It was one of these preview screenings. I had no idea what to expect on this thing, and it blew my head open. And so I go with Pete on Intacto.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I really love Intacto. I have a hard time faulting you, but I just Wizard of Oz is such a classic. But Intacto, I was probably in that screening with you.
Probably.
Intacto jumped from 202 to 161. There you go.
That's not too bad.
Next up, Charade from our recent Cary Grant series, or Die Hard. Well,
wait. Oh, the first Die Hard? Okay.
The first Die Hard,
yeah.
All right. Charade is in my top 5, so I got to go with that one. but it's Die Hard. It's a really tough
but it's Charade. It is Charade. How do you not pick Charade, Pete?
Charade's our number 2.
Yes.
Die Hard is our number 13.
Yeah.
So they're both in the top
No,
20.
they're good, but Charade.
This is a tough. Yeah. It's Charade.
Oh,
for
yeah.
me. Pete,
Well,
did you?
Then it's Charade.
Yes.
Are you conflicted?
I'm deeply conflicted. You guys make it so easy, but 2 to 13 is not a simple wager.
Oh, Audrey Hepburn, Cary Grant. Come on.
So
yeah,
good.
but Cary Grant was kind of old man Cary Grant.
Yeah. Okay. Walter
Weird
Matthau.
old man Cary Grant hitting on the young woman. And it was
because that never happens
sketchy.
in the 80s. Yeah, exactly.
It's just
every movie in the 80s.
dear.
Every movie in the 80s, there was like a 20-year gap between the leading man and
the difference is, Steve, in the 80s, nobody cared about it.
Right,
but
I know.
in Charade, he was visibly moved in every one of those sequences. He knew he was doing something weird.
Yes, that's true.
It's like Woody Allen in Manhattan. Like, we'll be fine as long as the police don't break in.
I thought you meant just Woody Allen in the city of Manhattan.
Woody Allen,
that too.
Pretty much. Right. Well, yeah, it's the same thing. Yeesh. Anyway,
All right, moving on.
That got dark quickly.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Detroit or Gaslight from our Ingrid Bergman series. Absolutely Gaslight for me.
Yeah, it's Gaslight.
Steve, have you seen Gaslight?
Yes. And I saw Detroit, and I did not have as many issues with Detroit, but I will say Gaslight, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gaslight held steady in spot 38.
Let us say for the record that Andy's things about Detroit are weird.
Yeah.
And Steve and I are of a piece on this. Go back and listen to that show. Many of his positions are indefensible. Detroit is fantastic. And who cares about that window thing that he perseverates on every single time?
Next up, moving on, we have Inception or Apt Pupil.
Inception.
Yeah.
100% Inception.
Man, remember Apt Pupil? What a movie.
Yeah. Was that? Did you do that in the Stephen King series or something? Is that where that popped up?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah.
In our Stephen King series, yeah. Next up, Rocky IV or Gallipoli.
Oh.
So many montages. Which
Wow.
montage will I compare against
I'm
Gallipoli?
going to go with Gallipoli.
I am too. Steve, have you seen Gallipoli?
Oh, yeah. I saw that on cable TV when, I don't know, I was in high school maybe or 8th grade. And I remember because Mel Gibson and lots of running and just, it was one of these movies where
so much running,
but I really connected with that movie at a young age. I was like, it was one of those films that I remember seeing that I thought it's not a kid's movie, but I got it and I enjoyed it. I was like, I'm enjoying a movie that's more for adults than for kids. And I was in that sort of, adolescent age of like, I can sit through an adult movie and not be bored. This is good. So
did you have a little voice in your head? Yay, I'm a grown-up now.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Oh, yeah. Gallipoli.
Is that what your grown-up voice sounds like still?
It is.
It still does, yes.
Yay, I paid my taxes.
It's much better if you continue having that voice throughout your life.
Does help.
Really,
yes.
really is. All right, Gallipoli held steady in spot 131. Next up, The Birdcage or The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Absolutely.
Yes. It's been a long time since I've seen The Birdcage, but I don't. Yeah.
It's no
good, bad,
exactly.
Okay.
That held steady in spot 91. The Bourne Supremacy or King's Row. I'm going to say Bourne Supremacy.
Okay.
I haven't seen King's Row.
King's Row. What did we?
Where's the rest of me?
Oh,
Ronald Reagan.
Yes, Ronald Reagan in bed. Yeah, please give me the other one.
It's not that bad.
Ronald Reagan in bed. It's like a disease. It's just.
Right.
I've got Ronald Reagan in bed.
Bourne Supremacy held steady in spot 265.
I think we liked that movie. I think that's my memory of it is we liked it, but it's so easy when you say Ronald Reagan in bed. I mean, come on.
That's the iconic moment.
Okay.
He went with the accident from the train yards. Next up, this is incredibly recent, Grand Illusion or Snowpiercer. We should get the people from last week to do this one.
I haven't seen Grand Illusion. It's on my list. So I know.
Snowpiercer.
I will say Snowpiercer.
Oh, okay.
Grand Illusion's awfully high, though. Snowpiercer held steady in spot 47.
All right.
And where are we at?
Yeah, we're right around 10. So
so this one will be our last one. We have Rabid or Alien.
Oh. Alien. This was going to be one of those, the other one kind of picks.
I haven't seen Rabid, and you know why, but I will always pick
Yes.
Alien because that's one of my top movies.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's in our top, it's not in our top 20, but I know it's up there for us. So, there you go. Held steady in spot 22. All right. Well, that is,
that was an
nice
easy set of picks.
We had a few jumps.
Yeah,
there were a few jumps in there.
But we didn't come to anything controversial, Cherry Moon.
No.
2001. I can't wait.
No, we didn't.
That's coming.
One of these days.
Rumble in the jungle.
Indeed. Okay, gents. Well, I guess that's it for that part. So, gosh, should we do our lists?
Our what?
Okay. How do you set up a list that is based on a movie that clearly no one's ever seen?
Yeah, right. So this is
that was
we
that
respect
was the best.
vote.
Listening to them talk about this movie in preparing for the poll was a massive high point in last week's show for me. I know it lit your hair on fire. I know it did.
When you're talking about a movie and you're picking list topics, even though we've provided options for people who may not have seen the movie and they choose, no, let's come up with our own options anyway. And we can say this because they're not going to even listen to this episode. They pick things that's like protagonist turncoats. Sure, it sounds Grand Illusion sounds like there's probably somebody in there who's turncoat. Yeah,
it's like classic cinematic card tricks. That would have been more likely.
So here we are, protagonist turncoats. Inspired.
Amazing.
We'll say inspired loosely by. I think Hollywood likes to use that as a descriptor. True. Inspired loosely by the film, The Grand Illusion.
Well, and so I have to ask you guys before we start: did you? How did you define protagonist turncoat for yourself? Because it has this sort of Revolutionary War era sort of Benedict Arnold kind of traitorism sound to it. I didn't do that at all.
Oh, okay.
But I'm curious how you approached it.
Well, I approached it as if I were to give somebody instructions and guidance on how to do something, and then they don't do that at all. That's somebody in charge of something. So the main person, a protagonist, that then just completely undermines the authority you've given them as a turncoat. I went more of
I want you to do this thing.
Yes.
And then they
don't do
that thing.
No.
Totally. No, I see where you're going. Andy, do you have any rules?
I'm going to save my rules for when I do my turn.
Okay. Waiting for Scoob to show up.
It'll be a better lead.
I'm waiting for Scoob to show up on his list.
Nice. All right, Steve, you got onto the list first, so you get to go first. What is your first?
Okay. So pick? I did look at. I did take the protagonist part of like who is the main character or one of our main characters that we're following that has some type of shift or turn on them that's crucial to the story. And my first pick is a film that I just saw this year for the first time, despite being one of these celebrated classics that everybody should have seen. And this betrayal, I guess, comes late in the film in Jean-Luc Godard's 1960 film Breathless, where the Gene Seberg's character basically turns her boyfriend over to the cops. So she's been going along with him and has this point, and she basically betrays him, which leads to that great final scene. And that is my first protagonist turncoat.
That's a great pick. It's so much better than my first pick, but I'm
such a serious pick for this list. Great.
Yeah, truly. I have a number of picks. There is one that I would like to get on the board because I'm reasonably sure that Andy is going to put this on here somewhere. Okay. And I'd like to I'd like to go ahead and own it, but it's not a protagonist. It's what we like to call a duotagonist. Are you familiar with a duotagonist?
Is that what's called
actually
a buddy movie? Is that what we call that?
It's a duotagonist versus the antagonist switch, and that starts with the film after an acrimonious breakup. The group is individually brought to this mysterious island to investigate strange goings-on. And as it turns out...
Scoob? Is it Scooby-Doo? Is it Scooby-Doo?
Scooby-Doo! It's the ultimate Cousin Oliver, Steve. It's Scrappy-Doo.
So funny. So funny.
Pete Wright, I love you so much.
There? I didn't say Mystery Inc. at all. I didn't. How did you do that?
I just know. Oh, thank you so much.
That's awesome.
Because that was what.
So good.
When I saw that, I was like, "What are they doing? What is going on in that movie?" Oh my gosh.
Those were honestly better movies than I ever would have expected them to be. And I only watched them because I had kids who wanted to watch them. And I was like, oh, okay, it wasn't horrible.
I'm just saying,
I just really watched it to see Linda Cardellini.
Yes, that's right. You put Linda Cardellini and Matthew Lillard and Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. They are a new Rat Pack. And we
honestly,
they were great. They were great.
Them all
they
so
were
much.
so funny.
Yes.
And I want to go watch Scream, and I want to go. I mean, it's just, come on, let's do this. What do you got, Andy?
Here. Okay, so my rules for this, trust me, no one is going to, I'm not stealing from anybody, and no one is stealing from me. That's the sort of list I have today. Because my rules were very specific, okay? 1, they had to be movies I had not seen.
That's awesome.
2, they're about the actor playing the protagonist who later threw their own movie under the bus, becoming the turncoat on the film they starred in. So first up, and I'm going to leave this as a little bit of a mystery. First up, this is the quote. I'm going to take the movie title out. Okay. The actor says, "It's the worst film I have ever made. Now, when my kids get out of line, they're sent to the room and forced to watch it 10 times. I never have too much trouble with them." I know I'm not even going to bother trying to get you guys to guess because you guys will never be able to figure this out. It is Red Sonja from 1985. And that is what Arnold Schwarzenegger had to say about that particular film.
Wow.
So first up, Red Sonja.
That's an amazing, this list is amazing. You've never seen Red Sonja?
Nope.
Okay, great.
I never heard good things. So anyway. All right, Steve, number 2.
I'm gonna be getting into territory where it's a movie you guys have talked about on the show. I'm pretty sure, no matter where I go with some of these, and so that's just out the window because I'm looking at these betrayals and they're crucial betrayals. And the next one I want to talk about is one that was a surprise in the film. I mean, everybody knows a betrayal's coming, but then the character that it's a surprise, and then it's even more of a surprise when you watch the movie a couple more times and think, well, wait, my logic is broken. How did he get there without anybody else knowing? And I'm talking about Cypher in The Matrix, when he goes into the Matrix and has a meeting with Agent Smith. And I'm like, the only way he can get into the Matrix if somebody's plugging him into the Matrix. So how did he do that for this betrayal to Agent Smith without anybody knowing that he was in the Matrix and putting stuff into the back of his head? I don't know. It broke my brain, but that is my second protagonist turncoat because we needed a betrayal, and I think that's one of the betrayals of logic in the story as well.
The Matrix.
Wow.
Yes. Right.
Okay. Man, you guys have really turned this around on me a little bit, and so I've got choices. These are not as funny, these choices that I'd like to go with here. And so I will do the first one. Remember back, it was last year, I started watching horror movies.
Yeah. I do remember you finally turned the corner.
I did. I turned and I came around to a number of them. You remember Midsommar was a big favorite of mine. And there is another one that actually ended up being a one that I look at with some favor. We're telling the story of a family, not contemporary. They are torn apart by the forces of witchcraft. I'm talking about 2015's The Witch. And I'm talking about the main character, Thomasin, the witch. When you start off just trying to protect your family, and then they do all kinds of crazy things to you, and you have to kill people in your family, and then in the end, you end up just saying, what the hell? I guess I'll sign the devil's book and become a witch. That was an ending that I feel like it was right. It was right. As frustrated as I've been with some of the other horror movies that I watched, that one I felt like that was okay. That was an Eggers ending that I enjoyed. So The Witch.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, number 2 for me. This actress had this to say about the film that she starred in. I want to thank Warner Brothers for casting me in this piece of ass god-awful movie. It was just what my career needed. I was at the top. Now I'm at the bottom. She also had this to continue. It was what it was. But I know if we had a chance to do it again, I know we'd make it better. We'll make a better story and have a better villain. I always thought we should have had a better villain than a woman whose face cracked off, but that's the past. I'm over it. But I would do it again. I loved being Catwoman. That's right. Halle Berry, 2004's Catwoman.
Well, it may be a little bit disingenuous to say I was at the top and now I'm at the bottom.
This was,
Halle Berry.
It was right after her Oscar win. And then she goes on current Rotten Tomatoes rating of 9%.
That's fair.
There you go.
That's fair. Wow.
Okay, Steve, last pick. What could it be?
I've got one that's a classic, but then there's one that's my favorite, or more of a favorite. So I'm torn, but I guess I'll go. This was the first one that came to mind, and again, it goes to when you're a idealistic teenager and you're watching an action movie and you've got a character that just reveals this dark side, and you realize that there's this whole message about evil corporations, and it's about greed, and people are dying, and that's okay because the corporation's going to profit off of that. When Paul Reiser's character Burke in Aliens basically betrays Ripley and everybody, the colonists and everything, and I'm just like, Paul Reiser's the funny guy, but I hate him so much in that movie.
Every time I hear the Mad About You theme, I want to punch Paul Reiser in the neck.
Where's the facehugger when you need one?
That's right.
Nice.
All right, so that takes me to my third pick, and I'm going to stay dark on this one. It is from what I think I don't know, I feel like this term didn't really come about until Get Out, right? The idea of a social thriller. Jordan Peele. I don't know. I guess it was there, a social horror. I don't know. What was he calling it, or what were others calling Get Out? Anyway, then he did another one. And that other one is called Us. And that movie was not as good, in my opinion, as Get Out. It was not a strong movie, but it still had some incredible imagery. It had some very intense sequences. And it had a twist at the end that it is one of those that I felt like as we were leading up to it, you're going down the hall and you get to it and you say to yourself, I totally know what's happening. Oh, of course I know what's happening. And then you realize all along when it happens, exactly the way you predicted it, that you so deeply didn't want it to happen that it still crushes you for a week. The Adelaide Wilson experience for me in Us, Lupita Nyong'o's character, was just so great. And so I that is my final turncoat pick. Is that one at the end of Us?
Yeah, it was an interesting one. I didn't care for it that much either, but it definitely had some great performances, and she was fantastic.
She was just amazing. She was amazing. Really was. I'm with you. It was a movie that did not leave me shaken the way Get Out did in many ways, but boy, I think about her and it's great.
Yeah. All right, my final pick. This actor had this to say about his film. He said on a promotional tour of a different film, starts off speaking about an actress in that film. I was such a huge fan of hers. We'd actually had the luxury of having lunch before to talk about another movie, and it was a bad movie that I did. She dodged the bullet. I don't want to tell you what movie. All right. And then he says what it is. It is what it is. Effing trees, man. The plants. Eff it. You can't blame me for wanting to try to play a science teacher, you know? I wasn't playing a cop or a crook. And that movie was?
The Happening.
Mark Wahlberg.
The Happening. Yes, that is Mark Wahlberg, who had that to say about his 2008 disaster with M. Night Shyamalan. Another one that I have somehow managed to miss. So there you go. That closes out our lists for this week.
Now, it puts us in the catbird seat to actually pick a list choices for next week that have to do with the movie. But I do want to just throw it out there that we could continue opposite week if we wanted, because it seems like everybody else is.
It seems like, what are they doing? Right? Yeah. No. Well, I say we just stick with the actual movie, which is Z. We are in our foreign language films nominated for Best Picture series, and the film is Z, 1969, directed by Costa Gavras, a political thriller about the assassination of a leftist politician in Greece not in Greece technically, it's in Algeria, but it's based very overtly on a Greek leftist politician who was assassinated by, it really was kind of like the whole right-wing government had kind of created this whole thing to actually take him out. And so it was pretty interesting film. Incredible filmmaking. So, I don't know, political thrillers, assassination films. I think we have a wide variety of options that we could choose from.
I would also like to nominate Great Movie Unions.
Oh, okay. I like that one. What was it? It was some acronym.
It was like the Union Workers Party or something.
I want to say CHUD, and I know that's not what it is, but
it's So I'm all for assassinations. I would also, I've been sort of perseverating on this. Steve, this movie there are no guns in this movie, and yet it's an assassination film, right? And so you watch this and you think, well, however would they do this? Right? It's all clubs, man.
Oh.
It's a movie where everybody has little clubs and they just hit each other on the head and kill each other. And it happens like that. And it's all from traumatic brain injury.
Wow.
You would think they would know better, but apparently that makes autopsies hard. So I feel like unique weapons for assassinations. I feel like that's been in my head.
I like the idea of that.
I just don't know how to put it. And I noticed that you haven't written my unique haven't weapons. Put down my union suggestion either. Did you?
Yeah. What was it again? It was union.
Great movie unions.
Great movie unions.
Yeah.
And by union, you mean an organization of people that are...
labor unions.
With
plumbers.
With a clever acronym. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Unions. And
I hope that's the one. I really do.
So we have assassinations, great movie unions. Do you want to do something with kind of,
unconventional
weapons of choice?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Do you like odd or unconventional?
Unconventional.
I
like unconventional.
What do you think, Steve?
Yes.
Unconventional
really
weapons of mayhem?
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes, because
they're swinging them everywhere.
They're swinging them everywhere.
Okay.
It is like the guy walking down the street. They hit him over the head and drive off. And then I saw him. He was drunk. He fell down and hit his head on the curb.
He was hit in the head with a club.
No, he was hit in the head by the ground.
Crazy people. Yeah.
Telling you.
All right. So I think that's it. Okay. Assassinations, great movie unions, and unconventional weapons of mayhem. I know that's going to be what people pick. So good luck, everybody. Have fun with that on the show next week.
Who has been blessed with that next week?
That is a great question. Who's on the list? So next week
I think it's you, Steve.
It is you, Steve. It's you, Rob, and Kyle.
I know Rob and Kyle will bring a game on that if they win. They will. So I'm not worried about that.
Absolutely will.
Yes, I love having those guys on the show because we have fun.
Outstanding.
Yes.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one. Well, I guess that's it, everybody. So if you want to vote in this particular list to choose which of these options will be spoken of next week on the show, you jump into our Discord group and you can go into the Show Talk channel. Of course, to get there, you need to become a member. How would they do that, Pete?
All you got to do is head over to patreon.com/thenextreel and become a supporter of the Next Reel family of podcasts. For just $5 a month, you become a concessionaire supporter, and that's what it takes to get access to the show live streams as we record, early access to shows, and, of course, get access to the super secret member channels in the Next Reel's Discord server where you can vote on lists for next week. That's really where the magic happens.
Pete, would you say that by becoming a member of Patreon and getting into Discord that they would be part of a great movie union?
Steve, I see what you're doing there. Oh, this is listener-supported podcasting, Steve.
Yes,
this is what you're putting your money to work right here. COVID Central.
Right, listeners like you.
Mm-hmm. We really appreciate it. We should add that we have some merch at thenextreel.com/merch. And
Yes.
You should check it out. And if you have been thinking, that Marvel Movie Minute, that custom artwork from the great Joel Micah Harris for season 2, the Ultimate Fear logo is great. I want it on my pillow. I would like to put my face on Kyle and Rob's faces. Or if you want to get a mask, you should do it because we're ending that season. They're wrapping up their show and it's amazing. And we're going to pull that logo stuff down and replace it with new stuff. So if you've been thinking about it, you need to act on it now. Also, I should say, by way of a plug, I have been listening to the upcoming episodes as they wrap up their season, and they have a multi-part. Should I even say this?
Well, it's out there on the Patreon feeds for those who are members. If you're supporting,
you guys, they talked to Terry Notary, and we have a multi-part episode. This is what they're doing with their credits, the closing credits of Incredible Hulk. They are talking to the incredible physical performer behind the Hulk, Terry Notary. He has an unreal background and he dishes a lot with these guys. So subscribe, get your merch, support the show. We really appreciate it. It's what keeps things running when certain members of the team just disappear for a month and a half.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your weekend. And then I guess that's it. So Pete, welcome back.
Thanks. Great to be back, everybody.
Steve, always a pleasure chatting with you.
Hondo.
Bye, everybody.